What is up, my friends? How is everybody rocking it out? Today, exciting news. The PGA Tour has just announced that they are revamping their schedule and format, sort of, next year, 2024, and creating 8 designated events is what they call them. So, these events are going to be limited fields, no-cut events with a lot of money on the line. Here's what is interesting. According to the statement, they say this in the statement. One of the things that is laughable, in my opinion. It says, starting in 2024, the PGA Tour will no longer require top players to participate in certain events. Cool. You're not required to participate in certain events anymore. What are those events that you are not required to play in? These events are the Players Championship. You're not required to play in that. Nor are you required to play in the 4 majors. So that's 5 events. That's if you're eligible. The 3 FedEx Cup playoff tournaments and an additional 8 what they call designated events. So 16 events you're not required to play in. That is like telling a 5-year-old child, we're having a giant birthday party for you with all the cake you can eat, all the candy you can shove in your mouth, all the toys, the ponies, the everything you can imagine. All these gifts are for you. However, you're not required to show up. Instead, you can go and sit in your room and eat broccoli. It's up to you. We're not going to make you show up. That's ridiculous. So, but that's the PGA Tour right there. A little ridiculous. Now, I do actually like what they're doing. I think it's a great move, and I'll explain why. Let me know your thoughts. I think that statement in and of itself is ridiculous for obvious reasons, but comment below. Let me know your thoughts. All right, so they are basically responding to LIV. So as much grief and hate as they gave LIV last year for no-cut events and limited field, they are basically doing the exact same thing. And it's pretty interesting that they would do this. Now, the top players, I would say, should thank LIV for forcing the hand of the PGA Tour. This is why a free market society is fantastic. Competition makes things better for everybody. And I think the PGA Tour and what they're doing is making the viewing experience for all of us, the viewers, much, much better. And so thank you, LIV, for exposing and making the PGA Tour shift and transform its model. Here is what is going to most likely happen. One is, what are these 8 designated events going to be? Let's just start there. What are those going to be? Well, we don't know yet. They didn't say. So this is going to be interesting because what we want to know is, are they going to change, let's say, the Waste Management Phoenix Open? Is that going to be one of the 8 designated events? In my opinion, no. Why would you? That already gets the largest crowds in golf by a mile, and it's a incredibly watched and viewed event the weekend of Super Bowl. So I wouldn't change a thing. There's no reason to. I'm guessing they're also not going to do that with Riviera. That already gets a pretty strong field. So why would you tweak that at all? See, I think they're going to take events like the Honda Classic and these events that directly compete and line up with the LIV events. And I'm guessing what they're going to do is say, okay, the events that are on the schedule that coincide with the LIV events, those are going to be our 8 designated events so that all the top players from the PGA Tour show up on those weeks that directly compete against LIV. I think they're going saying, hey, we can't compete with your money, but we're kind of going to compete with your money. We're going to compete by having our top players play at the exact same time that your events are going on. I'm guessing we're going to see a lot of that. Now, LIV has kind of waited to announce their schedule to like January or late December, like right around there, because it seems like they're probably lining up their events with week events on the PGA Tour schedule. So we're going to see how long is the PGA Tour going to wait versus LIV to release their schedule. So it's going to be, it looks like a little chess match is happening, and it's good. It's good for us. It's good for the viewers. And like last week during the Honda Classic, I was watching the LIV event because it was just more exciting than the Honda Classic until the playoff. But the LIV event ended. I flipped over, got to see the playoff, and that was exciting too. So got a little bit of both going on. And what's interesting about the PGA Tour is I can always watch the replay later on in the evening on Golf Channel or wherever. Like, you get that pretty quickly. So I don't have to rush to watch it live. Although on some events you do. Okay, so that's my guess as what's going to happen. What's funny too is obviously they got all the hate for having no cut, limited field events, and now they're doing the exact same thing. So now the Twitter world is kind of going crazy, and LIV Golf League on Twitter is just like, hey, imitation's the best form of flattery. So you kind of got to like hand it to them. Like, they're taking every possible opportunity to just kind of give them a little like ribbing whenever they can. How will this affect, let's say, the players? Like, who gets in these designated events? Well, they're going with the top 50 on the FedEx Cup points list from the previous year. So this year, 2023, the top 50 get in next year for the designated event. So we got that. I was speaking with an agent on the phone yesterday. He didn't have any clue that this was being announced. The players he represents had no clue that this was being announced. So everybody's kind of scrambling, trying to figure out what this means. Well, the biggest question was, what if I finish 51st on the money list? Do I get in these events? Well, no. The answer, you should have made a couple more putts, really. In reality, sorry, you didn't make it. But there's going to be a number of guys, 51 through whatever, that just are like out. But in these designated events, we have like, let's say 75 players, okay? So 70 to 80. So let's just say 75-ish players are in. You got the top 50. And so let's assume you're not required to play. But again, why would you not play? Because it's guaranteed money, guaranteed FedEx Cup points, guaranteed no cut. You get to play. It's a paycheck. You're going to want it. Your caddy's going to want it. Your family's going to want it. You're not required to play. The only reason you wouldn't play would be because you don't play well at that course. But then again, if you're guaranteed a paycheck, you just might show up anyways. Or you're injured, and so you might want to take a break. Or it just kind of lines up with some personal thing you got going on that weekend. And so you might not play there. So let's just say like five players don't play in each event. I doubt that's going to happen. They're probably going to have a lot of like pressure to play. But the 50 are in. You have the next 10 the top 10 on the current FedEx Cup points list are also in. I would imagine 8 of those players, let's say 7 of those players are already in the top 50 from the previous year. So kind of 3 more would get in from there, or you keep going down the list, right, until you get 10. So if you're 51st from the previous year, let's hope you've had a good start to the year, and then you're on that top 10 not already exempt players on that list. That's cool. Also, the top 5 get in from the points list from in between events. So let's say designated event number 2 and designated event number 3, however many tour events are in between, let's say there's 3, then you did well in those 3, but you're not still in the top 10 on the total points lists because designated events will carry more weight, so those players would get more points. But let's say you did pretty good with the non-already exempt players, you're in the top 5 spots of those points in between tournaments. You also get it. So I think this is good for a number of reasons. One is it's competition with Live Golf, and you're going to get more events where the top players all show up. And we like that. I don't like events where, hey, of the top 50 players, you got 20 in this event, and then 20 in the next event, and then 30 in the next event, and then the majors, they're all there, right? I like more events where they're all there. It's a lot more fun. It's a lot more exciting. And as a viewer, I like to see, obviously, we like to see that. Now, I would also like to see in these designated events, if they could, I like a shotgun start. I do. Like you start on this time and you end on that time. That would be probably something they're not going to do because it copies Live way too much. But I like it. And if you want to start on the whole one, then just be in the lead, right? Play better and then reshuffle every day. That I would like. So I think for the top players, this is good. Now, 51 through probably 65, 70, they're most likely going to get into these designated events. If you're not, guess what? I think it's a great opportunity for those players and new rookies on tour, because the other events, the non-designated events, most of the top players are probably going to be taking a break because they're really going to be playing those 16 events and maybe 3 or 4 more. That's a pretty full schedule. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity where you're not competing against the top players in the world. For the most part, for the viewer, those are going to be unwatchable events, and we're probably not going to be interested unless those events are the Waste Management, Riviera, Bay Hill, though, and obviously the majors and the players are not going to be designated events. So you're going to watch those anyways. And the FedEx Cup playoffs, obviously we're going to watch those. Pebble Beach, you're probably going to watch. It's a beautiful scenery. So events like that, we're probably going to watch. That's why I'm thinking the current bad events, probably most likely going to be the designated events. So there you go. And the new player, the rookie, if they play their cards right, they can kind of cherry pick the non-designated events that aren't like Riviera, and they can do their best to play well in those against a weaker field and then use it as like a catapult way to get into the designated events. That's what I think's going to happen. I think overall, and let me know your thoughts as well. Overall, I think this is good. And it's definitely changing the landscape of what we're used to with the PGA Tour. So I think it's good. I think competition is great. It's doing a lot for the good players and opening up, in my opinion, opportunities for the lower ranked players, the newer players coming on tour. It's opening up opportunities for them to have an opportunity to scratch off a win here and there. Unfortunately, the downside is those events that are non-designated events that draw a weaker field are going to feel much more like a Corn Ferry event. So that's going to be the challenge there. What's going to happen during those weeks. Maybe the PGA Tour is like, well, whatever, we don't care. Unfortunately, the sponsors who are those non-designated events, they're kind of getting the short straw there. So I would imagine the PGA Tour is negotiating with sponsors. Hey, do you want to be a designated event? It's going to cost you. Obviously, that's what this world is. Who pays the most money is going to be the winner. And the sponsors are probably, it might be behind closed doors, kind of an auction scenario. Hey, who wants a sponsor here? Who wants to be a designated event here? Who the Mercedes, BMW, Ford, like who's going to pay the most money? Going once, going twice, sold. You get the designated event. Bam. For a gazillion dollars. Who knows what's going to happen? It is exciting. A lot going on in the world of golf. Comment below. Let me know. I want to know what you guys are thinking about this whole scenario. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.